Okay, in this lesson, we're going to set up the workspace for our development environment, integrate CMSIS, and create a project template in the CubeIDE. So let's start by going to the project folder, which you've created here, and we'll create our workspace folder. So create a new folder and call it Workspace. And now let's open the CubeIDE. And just give it a moment to start. All right, then let's copy the workspace path. So copy this path and paste it into the launcher, then click Launch. Launching the CubeIDE may take some time, so just give it a moment, and I'll go ahead and speed up the video on my end, and feel free to come back when you're ready. All right, so here we are. Let's go ahead and maximize this. And first we'll go to Start New STM32 Project. This may also take a moment, so I'll fast forward again, and feel free to come back when everything is ready. Okay, so here we are at Target Selection. Now here in the MCU selector, let's enter into the commercial part number STM32F4 RET6. And we want the one that's on the Nucleo board here. So let's select this one, then click Next. And since we're not using the CubeIDE to automatically generate code in this course, here we'll select Empty. And then we can give the project a name, and I'll call mine RTOS Project. Then we can click Finish. And now it's creating the project. All right, here's the default project template. Let's quickly see what we get. Here we have our core file, main.c, which is the entry point of our application. Along with that, we have the startup file and the linker scripts that define the memory layout. And syscalls.c and sysmem.c are C runtime support files. Syscall stubs for things like standard I/O and heap or memory support. Okay, next we're going to create 3 new source folders. One will hold our CMSIS header files, and the other will be our core folder, where these existing include and source folders will go. And we'll also have a config folder to hold our configuration files. So let's go to the project and right-click, then go to New, Source Folder, and let's call this one Core. Then let's create the next source folder, and call this one CMSIS. And let's create one more, and call it Config, and Finish. Now let's create the include and source folders inside of the core folder. So let's go over to the core folder here, and right-click, then go to just Folder right here, and call this INC for include. Then we'll repeat the process for the source folder, and call it Source. Okay, then we can simply drag the existing source files here. So just select these, and then we can drag them over to our newly created source folder. And there's nothing inside of the original include folder, so let's just delete that. And do the same for the original source folder. Okay. Next, we want to add our CMSIS device-specific header files to our core include folder here. And these files are part of the STM32 Cube firmware package we'd previously downloaded. So let's go over to the project folder, then go to the software folder, and let's unzip the firmware package. And this might take a moment, so I'll speed up again. All right, so first we want to include the MCU peripheral registers files. So just navigate with me to the correct path. So go to Drivers, CMSIS, Device, ST, STM32F4XX, then Include. And now we want the STM32F4XX.H, so select it And we also want the STM32F4 46XX.h. So select this as well. And then we want the system STM32F4XX.h. So be sure to select this. And now we have these three files selected, and we're going to drag them over to our core include folder. All right, so let's drag them over. And then select copy files. All right, so now our files are included here. Next, we can include the CMSIS Core files. So let's go back to the ST firmware folder. And let's go up a few levels, back to drivers. Then to CMSIS, which was our previous starting point. And we want include. And we're going to select several files from here. So let's start from the top. Select CMSIS armcc.h down to CMSIS version.h. So this looks good, but we can actually deselect this one. We don't need it, but we do want CMSIS compiler, GCC, and we can also leave IAR just in case you use IAR, and version can also stay. Also in the STM32F446, we have Cortex M4, so select this core cm4.h file, and we could select the MPU file as well. Alright, so this is all the files that we need to include from CMSIS. So let's go ahead and drag these files over to our CMSIS folder and copy them in and click OK. Alright, so our files are here, and be sure that you've included everything. Next, we need to add the path to these files and folders so that the compiler can see them. So what we'll do now is go over to the project properties and make some updates there. So we can go to the project and right-click, and then go to Properties, or you can Alt-Enter as well. And I'll maximize this. And let's go to C++ Build, then go down to Settings. And we want GCC Compiler and Include Paths. All right, and we can get rid of this old include by clicking Delete. And we can add a new path by clicking Add. And we can use this Workspace button to get the path. And from here, we can access all of our folders within the project. So let's drop this down, go to Core, Include, select it, and click OK. And our path is created for us here. So let's OK this. Then let's do exactly the same for the CMSIS folder. Go to Workspace. Then let's select the CMSIS folder. There's our path, so let's OK it. And then add the config folder path as well. Select Config. The path looks good. Alright, so you should have these three paths added to your project now. And the next thing we need to do here is to add the symbol for the CMSIS device-specific header file. So let's go over to the paths and symbols to do that. Go to C++ General, Paths and Symbols. Then go to Symbols. And first we can delete the bottom three, as we won't need them, by clicking Delete. And we can leave Debug. So before we add the symbol for the device-specific header file, I'll show you how this works. So let's just apply and close for now, and we can come back. As we exit, you can click Rebuild Index and check Remember My Decision. Now I'll open the F4 series header file and quickly show you how the symbol is used. And I'll just navigate to where the device-specific header is included, which is the STM32F446. And here we go. Here is where the device-specific header is included. So we want to have the symbol above it defined. So let's go ahead and copy that. And we'll go back to our properties and include this as a symbol there. Okay, let's go back to Properties. And we can quickly add it. And paste it into the name field here. And we can add this for all configurations, including the debug configuration that we're in now, and for all languages, including both C and C++. And all looks good, so apply and close. And here in the header file, we can see that our symbol is now recognized, and the device-specific header file is included as well. Next, we'll go over to main.c and clean it up a bit. So let's close this file and go over to main.c inside of the core source folder. Let's remove all of this here, so just take all of it and add a comment and say Application Entry Point. And we can also change this forever loop to a while one. That's just my personal preference here. It really doesn't matter. You can also use the for with 2 semicolons if you like. Okay, and just select it and tab it over. And I would actually prefer to use spaces or take up less space, so to speak, when pressing the tab key. So we'll fix that shortly. However, next we're going to add a new file to our config folder. And as I mentioned before, we're going to use this folder for configuration headers, like the STM32F4 generic header, which is used to include the device-specific header that we just created a symbol for. And we'll also use it for FreeRTOS task definitions and our FreeRTOS config.h file, which was discussed in the overview. Okay, so let's right-click on the folder, then go to New, Header File, and call it mcu.h. All right, and now we can adjust this comment to something more meaningful, as this is where we're going to include our STM32F4 header file. So I'll just update this comment to mention that this is the central include for STM32F4 device headers. Okay, then we can include STM32F4 So basically, this file abstracts the F4 series header, facilitating ease of access to peripheral definitions by including mcu.h. And we're able to access our device-specific header file via the symbol that we've just added. So that's our basic setup. Before we move on, I'm going to apply the formatter settings to include the double-spaced tabs I'd previously mentioned. So let's go to the project properties, and C General, then it's Formatter, and click on Enable Project-Specific Settings, choose New, and then we can choose GNU as the basics, and then give it a name. And here you can make your adjustments according to your preferences, but the first thing I want to do is update the tab policy to use spaces only, and then change the tab size to 2. And next we can see that these braces are indented here, and it'd be nice to have them on the same line. So let's go over to braces, and for blocks, let's make them next line, and also for blocks in case statement. And for switch statement, for example here, change it to next line. And for initializer list, we can do next line as well. And if anything needs updating, you can always come back here and tweak it. Okay, so let's apply. Then OK. Then apply and close. All right, so it's already updated. But as you can see, whenever you tab over, it's now doubly spaced. And this is just my preference, but feel free to do whatever you like. Okay, and as a final step, let's now include mcu.h here in main.c. So include it here. And then save. And then let's build just to be sure there's no errors. So we can do that by going up to Project, then Build All, and you can also use Control-B. Great, everything looks good. We have 0 errors and 0 warnings, and we now have a nice clean setup with CMSIS Core. So I'll see you in the next lesson where we'll integrate FreeRTOS.